Good morning, everyone. Perdition Temple just dropped a banger right in our faces, and I'm here to talk about it. If you're looking for a vicious offering of diabolical death metal with piercing riffs, wailing solos, and spine-splitting drums, Malign Apotheosis will not disappoint. And if you're unfamiliar with this band, the rest of their discography will deliver on that promise. Make sure to break out your spooky candles, your Necronomicons, and your vials of black goat blood. We're going to be incanting some ancient ones today, so stay tuned. I still do not have a camera, so enjoy me playing Hades 2. I've been a fan of this band for about a year and a half, and their quality has always been extremely consistent. And the first thing you should know about them is they absolutely love Morbid Angel. Like, they really love Morbid Angel, and so do I. But they pretty much mastered that David Vincent era sound and managed to elevate it, making it more intense, more technical, and all around more evil. You can also easily compare this band to Angel Corpse, which makes a lot of sense considering they share ex-members, and Immolation, as well as Christian and that whole blasphemous Brazilian death metal scene. There is a Blackened feel to their music, especially their aesthetic, but they can still be summed up as death metal. I don't want you to take from this review that Perdition Temple is just another clone of a more successful and influential band and should be written off as such. They still have an original sound, and in my opinion, they take what Morbid Angel already did and push it in a new direction. The riffs and leads are sometimes eerily similar to what Triazagoth has been writing for decades, but they take that bending, twisting, chaotic sound and turn up the intensity and contort them even further. And it's technical in a way that isn't flashy, it's done in a way to make the riffs sound more dense and maze-like. There's a twinge of suffocation influence in the stop and start sections and the way the guitars sync up with the blast beats. The drums are a nice mix of pummeling, grindy, but steady blasts with pockets of groove. There's clearly a lot of nods to Pete Sandoval with the fills and the way the snare is used to accent certain parts, and the way the drum beat is sometimes intentionally either slightly in front of or behind the beat. It gives the faster sections a sense of blistering urgency, and the slower parts a lurching heftiness that hits you like a bulldozer. Or as death metal freaks call it, the stank face. While the vocalist tonally doesn't sound like David Vincent, he absolutely nails the cadence. The way that some syllables are drawn out in an exaggerated and almost cartoonish way, like you can visualize Vincent with an evil grin on his face. Every member of this band's lineup has an impressive resume, and they're all well versed in creating onslaughts of extreme metal glory. Vocalist Alex Bloom has also been the lead vocalist of Ares Kingdom since before their first EP, which is another band that I'm a gigantic fan of. They play a unique blend of old school death metal, melodic death metal, thrash, and some traditional heavy metal mixed in that's harrowing, triumphant, and always delivers on great riffs. Guitarist and bassist Gene Not Hoagland is a founding member of Angel Corpse. He's played on pretty much all their material from their earliest demos to their last recorded album. He's also been in Impedity, which is not surprising considering what Perdition Temple sounds like. They're an equally demented and furious Singaporean blackened death metal band that I recommend for all fans of apocalyptic devil-worshipping noise. Gene is currently in Malefic Throne with Steve Tucker from Morbid Angel, and legendary drummer John Longstrath, an absolute demon behind the kit. He's famously known from mind-melting tech death freaks Origin, as well as Skinless, The Red Chord, Hate Eternal, and a myriad of other bands.
He invented the gravity blast.
And the drummer on this album is Ron Parmer, who is another force to be reckoned with. He's actively playing in 7 bands currently, most notably Florida old school death metal mainstays Brutality and Malevolent Creation. But even without knowing any of that information, you can tell from the moment you press play that this group is oozing with talent. You hear the smoke and sparks coming off of the drum kit and see the motion blur on the guitar strings from the precise and high velocity shredding. I want to get into the production, which might be a turnoff for some people and for others it might be a big perk depending on your taste. This thing sounds like it crawled its way out of the swamps of Florida and managed to upload its being onto the internet. The guitars are somewhat scooped in a way that reminds me of early 2000s brutal death metal. It is somewhat similar to the Covenant tone, but it sounds more suffocating. Even though the riffs themselves are stabbing and nimble, this tone gives them a lot of weight. It's like blunt force trauma in audio form. The drums are thundering and also slightly blunt and fill out the low end of the mix. While there's not a whole lot of clarity to the bass, you can always tell it's there and it beefs up the guitars a lot. But really the entire thing sounds lower fidelity, more compressed, and more muffled than most of their other recordings. Sacraments of Dissension, for example, had a much crisper sound with more dynamic range. It's almost like it was meant to be listened to on cheap headphones. I'm not exactly saying this is a bad thing, it's kind of a valid stylistic choice for death metal if you ask me, but I can understand if you're more of a stickler for higher quality recordings, so this can be a turnoff. The vocals also have a similar but much more subtle warbly effect on them, as you've heard on Where the Slime Live and Umalamari. where it sounds like he's doing his vocals underwater. And this effect is brought up more at specific points throughout the album, namely at the end of the first song, Resurrect Damnation, where the vocals go into this cackling bellow. Now, I know this band likes to wear their influences on their sleeve, and I don't want to make too many Morbid Angel comparisons throughout this review. They're also like 1 degree of separation from Morbid Angel, but Resurrect Damnation is extremely similar to the song Dominate, even down to the structure and the vocal patterns. There's a different melodic riff that they use in between phrases, but the way it's used in the song is almost exactly like Dominate. However, the song is a lot longer, it's more intricate, and this might just be an homage because they do more with the song than Dominate does. It's less skeletal, it attacks you from all sides with scathing angular riffs. I'm a fan of the lead guitar when it briefly shows up at 2 distinct parts. First time it's epic Slayer-esque shredding, and in the back half during a more chuggy section, it's mournful drawn-out notes that sound like some kind of apocalyptic alarm. In the following song, Kingdoms of the Bloodstain, we're introduced with a slower, groovier, and very catchy riff that they revisit a few times during the song. This is what I like to describe as an anchor riff. The song can go off on a long tangent and do whatever it wants, but it always comes back to the anchor or the keystone that holds it together. Think Symbolic by Death, or in this case the anchor is more like a twisted, sinister version of Bloodbath breeding death. The first half of the song is even more of a chaotic frenzy of razor-sharp technical savagery. I especially love the off-kilter sounding pinch harmonics. This also sets you up for the last part of the song where the anchor becomes the main riff and the song becomes more of a sluggish crawl with some haunting harmonized tremolos. This is where we get a big incantation vibe. The song Purging Conflagration is full of frantic, almost atonal riffs and brutal triplet chugs that show up a lot throughout this song, but it's also where you can hear the limitations of the mix. Because the low end is already so cluttered, you lose a bit of detail. You don't hear the squeak of the strings and it doesn't cut quite as deep. It's really a minor gripe though. The leads are more fleshed out and tonally has a similar apocalyptic feel, like it's signaling your demise. Signaling that the last bit of hope for humanity is gone. The chuggy staccato riffs in Death Insurrection sound a lot like Pierced From Within. The song, not the album. I love the sing-songy tremolo melodies, and there's this squealy tag that pops up at some points that sounds like a nod to the Ancient Ones off Blessed Are the Sick. This song actually has a super fun chorus with a big old-school thrash metal vibe that I find myself tapping along to a lot. I love the enthusiasm when he belts out Death Insurrection. The title track is a strong contender for my favorite on the album. It's the closest this band gets to doom and sludge metal territory. The entire song is a monolithic, lumbering beast. The guitars laboriously churn out these scornful, bending, seasick grooves. There are some faster sections at the start, but the majority of the song is a low, sluggish crawl compared to the piercing grind that we're used to. It's just as intense, if not more, than the fast songs, and the atmosphere is unsettling. I would compare it to Sarcophagus by Nile. This is the song to conjure demons to. Agony Unto Revelation has a lot of those sing-songy riffs that Deeds of Flesh likes to use. You can easily hum along to them. And in Bellum ad Infernum, we're greeted with more cool stop and start riffs that I can easily hear as being straight off of Covenant. Some echoing harmonies and heaving mid-paced gallops with absolutely soaring lead guitar over top of it. The closing track, Fell Sorcery, goes back to brutal, stomping, agonizing grooves. It kind of teases them throughout the song by splicing them in with blasty, thrashier sections. There's a trippy, swirling, harmonized riff that shows up that was interesting, and I kind of wish I did more with it. And it features one of the best and most well-rounded solos on the album. Overall, this was a descent into madness, chock full of intense, gnarled riffs and an impressive and energetic performance in each one of these diabolical madmen. It was a very solid listen, and what it lacks in originality, it makes up for with plenty of amazing highlights. It doesn't waste your time at all, it's about as lean and substantial as they could be. Kingdoms of the Bloodstain, Death Insurrection, and Malign Apotheosis were the songs that stood out most to me, and were probably my favorite. Not every song was extremely memorable, but those 3 definitely were. If you like death metal, black metal, thrash metal, or if you're a fan of Morbid Angel, Angel Corpse, Belphegor, Impiety, Christian, Malefic Throne, bands of that nature, definitely give this one a listen. I'm giving Malign Apotheosis a strong 8 out of 10. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more album reviews and to see me talk about music, play video games, and whatever else I decide to do. Remember to leave a comment as well. Comment what was your favorite track and what bands I should talk about next. Have a brutal rest of your day, and bye.